time things. Okay, so we've missed just a couple pieces of the first part of this game, but there's not a whole lot that has happened. We've got a Northshire Cleric on the board. Northshire Cleric round 1, what you always want to see from the priest. That's your favorite thing. Since Classic, since Vanilla, since before there was an expansion, priests always want Northshire Cleric round 1. I expect this turn, well, probably, we'll see. We could see a Tol'vir come out. I kind of expect to see the Cleric run into the 1/3 and then healed up to get a draw. The goal of this Cleric, of this Priest, is to basically draw out as much as you can, continue drawing until you get the combo pieces that you need. And you are going to have to do so in a more controlling way. That Wild Pyromancer is going to be really handy in a little while, where it can help clear off a pretty big board. But they have to get it, time that just right, because they're going to have to play pretty controlly here to get through this setup here. Okay, so good setup here. The Tol'vir comes down. It's a 2/3, meaning that he can't clear it off on board, and it sets him up for a nice Holy Ripple next turn, which will damage the enemy and heal his guys, and in the process, draw him a handful of cards.
Let's see.
So you can see here the tempo that they're playing here is pretty quick. To their goal is to get a whole bunch of stuff on the board, clear a bunch of things in. I do expect, honestly, I kind of expect the Cleric to run in, followed by a Holy Ripple, which would clear off the board. Another option would be to run the Cleric in, heal it up, and then Pyromancer, and then maybe coin out a Holy Ripple, which would give him a couple extra draws, as well as clearing the board. So ACU taking their time here, which is what we like to see. You can see actually the timers. We've got those there for you over there on the right-hand side of exactly how long they got left in their turns. But 20 seconds is a long time, so they're going to take the time, think about it, and make sure they know what they're doing. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get the Light Warden out. This Ripple's going to clear things off, heal him up, and buff up that Light Warden a bit. They're going to go ahead and also give the Light Warden a couple extra health so that it's a little harder to remove. One of the things about a Zoolock deck like this is there aren't quite as many options for I don't know what that noise was, but there aren't quite as many options for clearing off a large minion. You have to sacrifice a bunch of smaller things or have something big on the board, like your own 5/5 is always an option. So now ACU is going to have to figure out how they want to handle this. They unfortunately don't have any spells in hand. They can heal up the Cleric to get a draw out. If they do so, they're looking for something that they could proc those one of the Wild Pyromancers with, and hopefully get some. They need to do some clearing as well as keeping their board presence pretty strong here on the board.
So I'm trying to figure out, what is the big scary 5/5 guy up there? I'm trying to figure out what he is.
Well, so if our production team mouses over that, you can see exactly what that is. That is an evil demon. It was summoned by that 3/3 just to its left. It destroys a friendly lackey. So lackeys are a particular type of minion. It destroys the lackey and then allows the lackey to basically become a 5/5 evil demon thing.
Okay.
And that evil is an acronym. It is for the League of Evil. EVIL.
Okay.
Evil villains, something something. I don't actually remember what it is, but it's from the previous expansion, which was the League of Evil. Alright, so that 0-3 is going to quickly be hatched here into a 3-4 by this lackey that is going to run into the board and clear things off. So ACU not holding on to board presence here, and they don't really. So they got the inner fire part of their combo, but nothing else. And one of the important pieces of their completing their combo is maintaining something on the board long enough to attack. So they're going to get the Blade Master out and then follow it up with the heal to both minions. So what that 2-3 does right there is it heals up both adjacent minions to full health.
Pretty handy. Very handy right there.
All right. ACU waiting on the UT Austin team to determine what they're doing. You can see here this UT Austin team is a veteran of Tespa Hearthstone.
Yes.
That dollar on card back is actually given to teams who make it 5-2 or better in the tournament leading up to the qualifiers.
Okay.
The playoffs.
That is
Alright.
a very good card right there.
Yep. So Sea Giant coming out. Sea Giant's cost is reduced by the number of minions on the board. So AC is going to have to figure out a way to deal with that Giant. Sea Giant is a staple of a deck like Zoolock because you can often have a full board and then get a really cheap 8/8. Giants in Hearthstone, if you're not familiar, in general, your Giants are all have their cost reduced by something. So Molten Giants have their cost reduced by the amount of damage you've taken. Arcane Giants by the number of spells that you've played. Sea Giants by the number of creatures on the board, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
So ACU not having a whole lot of options here. They may be considering Acolyting, then following up with a Pyromancer and Inner Fire just to get some draw going. That just feels really rough wasting that Inner Fire on something like that. So they're going to leave the 8/8 on the board. There's not a whole lot they can do to clear it, so they're just going to say, okay, that's what it is. That's where it lands. And I would expect this sidekick to go on the Acolyte. There you go. That gives more options for its continued life and therefore card draw. So ACU hoping for, an ideal pull here would be something like go ahead and get your divine divine spirit, which you could use that on the Acolyte, double its health up to 10. It would take 1 damage, then bringing it to 9. Maybe you draw the other one. So theoretically, you could get a lot there. But they're going to recognize that this Acolyte is problematic, and are going to go ahead and clear it off. All right. High Priest Ahmet is one of the coolest cards in this deck. It's one of the new cards here in Saviors of Uldum. And what it does is it says that when a creature is summoned, when another creature is summoned, set that creature's health to be equal to whatever High Priest Ahmet is at. Now, ACU is in a rough spot here. They don't have any card draw. If they want to clear off one of these giants, they're going to have to exert significant effort to do so in a way that almost breaks their combo. So looking at things on board, they've got 7 on board, so they could clear 1 giant with what they have on board, but they'd sacrifice their entire board to do so. If they use the inner fire here, that deals 3 damage across the way. It looks like they're going to Pyromancer, run it all to face, and pray.
Pray.
I think that's what they're doing, is they are
Pray a lot.
praying very hard.
Which is good.
So a Divine Spirit draw here. What does that do for them? That'll give them a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 with 2 Inner Fires and a Divine Spirit. So even that's not enough unless they tap. Now if they tap out, so the Warlock is able to life tap. They take 2 damage and draw a card. But that's also all assuming that the Giants don't attack the face, or that the Warlock doesn't put anything in the way to prevent them from attacking. So there is another Voidwalker in the deck that could muddy up that plan. Ooh, the Grim Rally there is going to give them a lot of damage on this board. And they are respecting this board. So they realize that they've got the board control. They can wait out another turn. That's a good decision by the Longhorn Gaming team.
Very.
That is the Divine Spirit that they've been wanting so badly, but just hasn't.
And you can
Just is coming a little late.
Yeah.
So at this point, that Divine Spirit nets them a grand total of 4 extra damage. So that would give them 6 on the board with then the 2 1/1s which they could make one of them a 2/2. So that's theoretically 6, 7, 8, 9 damage on board, which is a far cry short of the 17 that they need to close out this match. Looks like they're going to put out High Priest Amet, and they are going to go ahead and double its health. And it's... Okay, so what they are doing is they are forcing Longhorn Gaming to sacrifice both of their Giants in order to clear this off. They're going to, especially with this respect of the 3/4, that means that there's no buffs, or it's less likely that they could buff things up to be able to clear it off with just the Sea Giants and still get some damage into face. So they will have to either sacrifice their Sea Giants, or they can just destroy the minion and put some worthless imps in their deck and call it a day. This is an unfortunate position. Power Word Shield is not going to save them.
Oh my.
So we get the cheeky Power Word Shield on theirs, and I expect to see a GG here pretty quick. AC just playing cards now. The well played should be coming in here. And Longhorn Gaming taking the first of the series and with their Zoo Warlock. So that means that Longhorn Gaming is no longer allowed to play with that Warlock deck anymore.
Okay.
So ACU doesn't have to worry about that anymore. One of the key things here is that even if they win the first 2 matches, that means they have to win the third one with whatever deck is remaining. So they've got a Shaman and a Hunter. Both are actually pretty great decks. So it's going to be an uphill battle, I think, for ACU at this point. We'll see which way they go. I kind of expect the Longhorn team to pull out the Shaman this round.
Shaman next.
It's a pretty high tempo. Has a lot of good swing turns in it. And then the Highlander Hunter is just fairly reliable there for a conclusion there at the end.
Okay.
So yeah, we're gonna see what they pick here in just a second. I know that the Longhorn team is all playing on the same account. So one of the things about Tespa Hearthstone is that it is a team event. You see there Smixen and Zaya at the. We've got the camera on them, so you can see all of their frustrated faces throughout the game, which is, I know, what we want to see.
Yeah.
But they're working together. They're talking about things, and you can play on any of the accounts. So any of Smixen has some of has one of the decks, and then 3 of the decks are being run by Zaya. And Smixen or Zaya will pilot the ones that they control or that they own, since they've had more experience with them. But the entire team is working together to kind of put this in. Now, see the creator, you may not have seen him there. He had another event tonight, but he should be back here in just 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, he should be.
And so that'll be great. So I hear the sounds of a game starting. So we've got Control Warrior on ACU side against the Highlander Hunter. So ACU's goal here is to prevent to just keep control of the board, to keep the board clear, or keep something on your side and go to the long game. The Highlander Hunter here is can be a kind of quicker deck in some cases, but it also has some longer term tools at its disposal. And so we'll kind of see how this plays out. Looking here, deciding what they want to mulligan out. This isn't a great hand for them. They're going to go ahead and keep the Mummy, the Project, and the Shield Slam, which doesn't give them really anything relevant until turn 4. So they could Weapons Project on turn 2. That'll give them a nice clear with Shield Slam if they need it. But all right, secrets. So options for that secret include Snipe, Snake Trap, Wrap Trap, Pressure Plate, Freezing Trap, or Explosive Trap. Those are the various traps being run by the Longhorn team. So I think ECU looking at a potential Weapons Project, and then Shield Slam here is one of their options. Or just Armor Up and Shield Slam. That'll, if there's... So I don't think there are any traps that would have triggered there. Pressure Plate does trigger on a spell cast, but it destroys a minion. And since they had no minions, it wouldn't have triggered that secret. So you can see this Highlander Hunter taking full advantage of these secrets. Now, I listed the 6 options for this secret, but they only have those 6 options. Now, there are some things that they can do to generate secrets as well. So, considering a Mummy here, which is likely... So it could get sniped, and they could, find that secret. They could... I don't know what their good options here are. So, Weapons Project would not trigger any of the secrets that are available. Eternium Rover would trigger a Snipe. So they're testing for that. And there we go. We see the Snipe coming out on there. But that generates some extra armor. And the question here is, do they go with the Weapons Project, or do they just armor up and call it a day?
Indiana Jones?
Harrison Jones. Not Harrison Ford or Indiana Jones. It's Harrison Jones.
Oh, no.
Who strongly believes that things do belong in museums. specifically the weapon that's in their hand. And so, actually, I like this weapons project play here. What this does is, this turn, they set themselves up for a turn 5 Harrison Jones, which will destroy the weapon that they just provided them, and give them 2 additional armor. But it does nothing to clear off these things on the board. They could theoretically go with the mech there that they just drew. That's going to deal 5 damage to any of those minions, split between them, but it's a high chance of basically not killing anything. So in this case, they take out the weapon, and I expect to see a swing in on one of those 2/2s. Yep. Okay, so we've got the next secret, Snake Trap, has been triggered.
Oh no.
And you know, it seems like, oh no, they've got this big board presence, but next turn ACU could warpath off basically this entire board.
It looks like the savannah right now.
Now, Longhorn Gaming, realizing that the warpath punish is there, is going to go ahead and utilize their 1/1s for their full 1/1 potential to clear off ACU's board and move on. Super Collider is one of my favorite cards.
Can you explain though what a Super Collider is?
So Super Collider, it's a weapon. I don't know that they wanted to use it right now, obviously. It's a weapon though that, like, when it first came out, I was like, it doesn't have much damage, and okay, so it makes something attack something else. Who cares? And then they people started actually doing the math and realizing, wait a minute, it makes something attack something else. And so, properly run, so when you attack it, it forces a minion to attack one of its adjacent allies. And so, properly run, you clear off 2 minions. So they put a poisonous up. Okay, you poison it. They put up a big thing. You run a little thing into the big thing, and it provides a lot of options there.
Okay,
We get Snip Snap, which was a special card that they released, opting not to go with the magnetic and instead go for a wide board here. ACU pulling out Zilliax, which I don't expect that we'll see quite yet.
But you never know.
In an ideal world, you'll see them clear off both of these Snip Snaps and then Warpath, which will clear off all of the junk that the Snip Snaps drop there on the floor.
Okay.
What now?
Okay.
Now, another option that they could do here, so they could Warpath. Okay, so this will clear off the 2/4. Those 2/3s are mechs, and so that will not clear anything off. The Dynamatic there only damages non-mech minions, and so the Snip Snaps remain in play. I expect ACU looking for an opportunity to clear off the junk that's dropped by the Snip Snaps along with the Snip Snaps themselves.
So what do Snip Snaps normally drop?
So you'll see they drop a couple of 1/1 creatures when they die.
Okay.
The cool thing about Snip Snaps is they're Echo with Magnetic, so you can theoretically stack the Snip Snaps on top of each other, so that they could have, instead of playing 2/3s, they could have ended up with a 4/6. So now it's 2 2/3s that each summon 2 1/1s, or
Okay.
instead of 1 4/6 that summon 4 1/1s. We see a nice wide board here by the Longhorn team, just forcing ACU to deal with it.
Well, we got another
I see.
Warpath.
So Super Collider could be a useful option here. They could Super Collider into the 4/3, which will force it to run into the 2/3, and kill both of them.
I think that would be a great idea right now.
And they could even theoretically follow up with Warpath to clean off the 1/1s, but they'll still have a. At that point, it would be a 2/2 left remaining on the board. It looks like that is what they've decided to do. You see the swing over, and clear that off. So they're not going to Warpath, and that makes sense. An armor up is an equivalent of Warpath here, right? Assuming there aren't buffs to the 1/1s, which I don't know that he would have one of those, that they are running any kind of buffs like that. The 2 armor is mitigating 2 damage that's left on the board. Next turn, they can theoretically hope to do a clear on the final snap and clear out this board. The Plague of Wrath that they have, I expect they're saving for a larger wide board, hopefully without as many death rattles. That's a well comboed with something like Warpath. The Plague of Wrath kills everything that's damaged. So, speaking of a great opportunity to use Plague of Wrath, a Wind Fury 6/6 taunt seems like a decent opportunity. In fact, they should have enough that they can Warpath, Plague of Wrath, Warpath again, and make this board have absolutely nothing left on it.
I think that's what they're doing, it looks like, so far.
It does look like it. And Warpath. That was a very pretty board. Try again. So ACU, that's what this Control Warrior is all about. Taking the long game, waiting things out, clearing things as they come out. But eventually ACU is going to run out of steam, so they need to start finding a way to establish themselves. They can do that in a couple ways. So they're going to eventually pull out Dr. Boom Mad Genius, which gives all of their things rush. Now, for those who watched last season, Dr. Boom has been nerfed. So he is no longer a 7-cost minion. He is now a 9-cost minion. So it's going to be you can't capitalize quite as immediately. But now that they're up to 10 mana, those Omega Assemblies look actually pretty tasty. I would actually be a little surprised if I were them. I want to start with an Omega Assembly. I'm likely to play one anyways. Okay, I'm not going to play an Omega Assembly. I'm going to put up 3 taunts in the way and get another one in my hand. That's not a terrible option. If you're one of the things, if you're going to play Omega Assembly, play it first, because you never know if you're going to get something better than what you would have played otherwise. It's the same concept as dropping a Gnomish Engineer. You always draw first, and then play your other things. Drawing last, if you're a Warlock, you always tap first if you're going to tap, if that's in your plan. All right, it's time to talk about Zephyrus. So for those of you who are not as familiar with this game, Zephyrus is a very intriguing minion. Zephyrus, so if your deck has no duplicates, which if you're a Highlander Hunter it doesn't, then you wish for the perfect card. What it does is it takes into account the current situation, the current board state, your current life total, and it gives you 3 options, all of which should statistically be good. For example, your opponent controls the board. Zephyrus wishes for an on-curve Twisting Nether that clears off the entire board.
I'm confused mainly because he just sacrificed his own cards.
So he sacrificed 2 small minions to clear off 1 small minion and 2 relevant threats.
Okay.
It's
a good cost.
It was a decent call there. I don't know what his other options were for Zephyrus. This is a one-sided view that we get here. So looks like they're going to Omega Assembly and see what shows up. They get a bunch of small things from there. But so one of the things, I don't know that I would call that a perfect wish from Zephyrus, because it did clear off the board, but it still leaves everything in ACU's hands to re-establish a board presence. So ACU deciding what precisely they want that board presence to be. Looks like they're going to put up the frame bot with maybe potential for magnetizing to that in the future. So that would actually be a good target for Ziliax. So that would give Ziliax basically charge next turn, which would be a convenient thing to have. All right. Longhorn Gaming going ahead and dropping out their Bran Bronzebeard. I anticipate that King Crush is going to quickly become Restless Mummy Meat. Looking at other options here, that seems like the best choice. So Restless Mummy, it has Rush. Okay, good call here. So that was beautiful timing by ACU. They wanted to make sure that they checked for traps first. Then they get the Restless Mummy up here, 3 with Rush. And so then it attacks again. And they're going to follow up with the Armageddillo, which will give their Ziliax, a nice little buff at the end of its turn. And if it survives, theoretically, Ziliax... Oh, no, so the Armageddillo is a beast, not a mech. I apologize. So there's not currently a mech that it could attach to, but it does have Rush. So that's some decent healing that it potentially has. ACU finding some good answers for the cards that Longhorn Gaming is putting out.
They're doing what every good strategy should do. You counter every single move that they offer.
Well, that's what Control is about. It's about playing the long game. So, and that's a great sign from ACU. Ooh, so they've got Snip Snap of their own here that they could put out with a Ziliax, or they could, I don't know, they've got some options of their own here. One of the nice things about running the Crier into the that Town Crier into the Ice Trap means that they could theoretically drop it again and pull out something else with Rush. Not certain right off the top of my head what other Rush options that they have. I believe we have seen both Restless Mummies at this point. Now, leaving Ziliax in your hand right now, ooh, I like this a lot. An Eternium Rover with 3 Snip Snaps, because every time that Rover takes damage... Now, interesting. So they wanted to establish an additional board presence here. All right. So every time that Rover takes damage, ACU gains 2 armor. So basically, they get healed for 2 every time the Rover takes damage.
Okay.
And so they're going to be looking for opportunities to, run that Rover into a 1/1. Warpath. Okay, Zul'jin here is going to quickly cast a whole bunch of spells. Let's see where this lands. They're going to destroy all the minions. It's going to leave a couple 1/1s on board. Summon some things with charge.
Oh my.
Put up some traps. Okay. Well, that
was anticlimactic.
Well, so now it's an equal board state, right? They can charge those in, so the Longhorn team deciding, do they want to run those into the minions and clear off the minions, or do they want to run those into face? looks like they want to clear this board and say, all right, try again. And ACU will gladly do so. Because ACU's got all day. I mean, they don't really have all day. But when it goes into the long game, especially now that Zul'jin's out, that means that the Longhorn team is going to be running out of resources. Whereas the ACU team, especially once they get Dr. Boom on the board and once they get Archivist Alyciana on the board, I mean, that's a huge boon to their survivability long term. So Alyciana lets them basically, when they run out of cards, they don't have to wait, but at a certain point when they've run out of cards, probably they play Archivist Alyciana, and she will discover 5 cards. You put 2 copies of each in your deck, so you now have 20 more cards. Sorry, you have 10 more cards in your deck. So that's 10 more cards before you hit fatigue. All right. I decided to put out the Clockwork Goblin here. So they're not running Bomb Warrior, but they still managed to put a bomb into the opponent's deck. The bomb, when they draw it, they take 5 damage. It's just some fun, free damage. So they played 3 cards that turn, so that means that we don't... that secret is not a Rat Trap. So they've tested for Rat Trap. I don't know that they've played anything that would have given them extra secrets. Oh no, we know what those secrets are. We know that one of those secrets is Freezing Trap because we've seen it before. We know one of those secrets is Snipe because we've seen it before. So so this is a great play here. We're gonna put out a Rush Minion, proc the Freezing Trap. The Snake Trap. So Snipe. So I guess we don't have a Snipe in there because the Snipe would have triggered that. So maybe the Snipe was put directly into play by a minion. I can't remember. If it was put directly into play by a minion, Zul'jin would not have cast it again. So that may be what we saw happening there. So considering the Ziliax here,
looks like
just give them some health back. That means that all right. So 10 health back to ACU is really nice to see. Now we're gonna see the Eternium Rover come out. And Exploding Trap gives them 2 armor because of the Eternium Rover. So good sequencing by ACU there. They've got a 10-7 taunt with Lifesteal in the way, so those 1-2s aren't likely to run into it. We haven't seen a deadly shot yet, I don't think. Oh, there we go. So, Longhorn Gaming giving up the second round. They looked at the cards and said, we don't have the cards we need. So, Control Warrior taking ACU to tie it up 1-1.
I didn't know surrendering was a thing.
So, yeah, it's quite typical when you find that. In fact, it's almost polite. When you find yourself at a position that is you're going to lose, then you go ahead and say, let's move on to the next game.
Okay. So I've always known games, it's like you have to go down without a fight because it's kind of like you just want to get it over with. So you put it all out there even if you know you're going to lose.
Sure. So ACU taken up. So that means that ACU is not able to play that warrior again. So that leaves ACU their combo priest, which we've seen already,
yes.
And their Murloc paladin against the Longhorn team has the Hunter remaining again, and then their Shaman. And so we'll see if the Longhorn team chooses to stay with their Hunter and try that against ACU's other 2 decks,
Yes.
or if they say let's go for a change of pace here, we'll switch over to our Shaman.
Yes.
So both options are available to them, and we won't know until everything loads in.
Yeah, we won't know.
So at this point, I don't know if the teams are swapping over. If they are, that would mean that ACU is going to the I believe Smixon has the combo priest. So if they switch accounts, they'd be going over to that combo priest again.
Yes.
Or they could go to the Murloc Paladin, and that's all. So I'm looking forward to the Murloc Paladin tonight.
I am too. Because that was one of the decks I was looking at a lot yesterday. I was just so intrigued by it because it's just like it had just so many different cards that like had a good attack to it,
Yep.
but also had great defense at the same time.
Sure.
So it's like
So the Murloc Paladin. So I've always been a fan of Murlocs. I've always wished that they would be there'd be more Murloc things, and we've seen iterations of that. There was Murloc Shaman for a while in the meta. There was Murloc Mage made an appearance for a little bit. Murloc Paladin has been a thing off and on, but this iteration of Murloc Paladin has a really cool function with prismatic lens and tip the scales. And so prismatic lens says draw 2 cards from your deck, 1 spell, 1 minion, and swap their casting cost. Okay. So if you are playing, you limit the number of spells you have. You're playing mostly Murlocs, right? And Murlocs typically are low-cost creatures. So ideally, you play Prismatic Lens, you pull out your tip of the scales, you also pull out something like Toxic Fin or, Grimscale Oracle or Tidecaller. And those will let you, swap those health, or swap those costs, and you can play Tip the Scales for 1 mana. Tip the Scales says take 7 cards from your deck, 7 Murlocs from the deck, and just put them into play. And takes you from no board to a pretty impressive board pretty quickly.
wow.
And one of the other features of that is it's pulling them from your deck, not just summoning random ones. And so one of the interesting features about the Murloc Paladin deck ACU is running is that it includes cards like Zephrys. Now, Zephrys requires that you have no more than 1 card of each. You can't have duplicates in your deck.
Yeah.
But there are all sorts of duplicates in the Murloc deck. But when you get to the end of your deck pool, then you are likely to not have duplicates. And so at that point, you wish for something really cool, and it helps you close things out pretty quick.
Okay. Sounds good.
So I'm not sure what the holdup is here. I expect that they are getting things set and ready to go.
We scared them off. We scared Texas off.
Maybe. Seems unlikely, but it's possible.
It's good to hope.
So I tell you what, while we are waiting, we're just going to go to a quick break, and don't go away. We will see more awesome Hearthstone in just a moment.
Yes.
Oh, right. We are back, and we got the Thunder King. So we're gonna see the Shaman in action. So we've got Quest Shaman versus Murloc Paladin. So the Murloc Paladin here. So if they're keeping Tip the Scales, that's an interesting choice that I don't know that I would have made. The point of Tip the Scales is that it is in your deck and not in your hand. But that is their choice. So we've got brand new Murloc from the Saviors of Uldum set. Mermy here is a mummy Murloc. So give the name there. You got Murloc, mummy, Mermy. So we got a Mermy.
That is just, oh my.
Yep. And so he's got Reborn. Reborn is a new mechanic from the Saviors of Uldum. The Reborn feature says that when you attack, when it dies, it comes back with 1 health. And so we've had some minions that did have that mechanic in the past. Now they've given it a name, and it is a feature that we see a lot in Saviors of Uldum. So the Mermy here is looking to take out this lackey. So the Quest Shaman is fairly lackey heavy. So lackeys are a new thing that came out in the previous expansion, the League of Evil, and they are low-cost minions that do something special. They do something cool, and they're typically added to your hand by some other card. So Sludge Slurper is add a lackey to your hand. Evil Cable Rat is add a lackey to your hand. And then those lackeys come out and do cool things like deal 1 damage or give something +1 to attack, that kind of thing. All right. So one of the things about lackey is you want to play them a couple times if you can, and it helps if you can play them a second time if they have +2/+2. So we get the Bog Slosher sloshing that minion back into their hand, and it's going to come out and do 2 more damage to this Amalgam. That Amalgam is literally everything. It's a special card that is just a 3/4, but it is a mech, it is a Murloc, it is a beast, it is anything and everything. It is like the Apostle Paul, who became all things to all people.
It's everything, including the kitchen sink.
Yep.
Okay.
And there's some, stuff you won't see on regular Hearthstone casting is some Bible jokes. You're welcome. That's the ACU Esports difference. Okay, so ACU is not having a fantastic hand here. You see they've got the new legendary guy there in their hand, Sir Finley of the Sands. So his thing is a Highlander feature. If you have no duplicates, discover an upgraded hero power. So you could pick up any you got 3 random options for hero powers. It could be a druid hero power, it could be a shaman hero power, it could be a hunter hero power. But it's upgraded, so you could discover the hunter hero power that deals 4 damage instead of 2, or the paladin one, which summons 2 1/1s instead of 1.
I was kind of laughing at how the Thunder King looks. He's a blue Thanos, basically. That's what he looks like.
Yep. So they have now completed the quest. So quests are a thing that you play at the beginning, typically, and you do certain things and you get something cool for doing them. So if production, if you can just mouse over the enemy hero power, we can show you that. So in this particular expansion, it's hero powers that you get automatically. You don't have to play a card or anything like that. So in this case, it's it changes his hero power such that it's 2. His hero powers cost or go twice, or his battle cries, and so you start seeing high usage of battle cry minions that do cool things. So like, you know, well, now that is a desperate play. So ACU recognizing their difficult position here. At this point, ACU would have wanted to be much farther along on the board, but unfortunately they are not. Leroy Jenkins should be a closer. It should not be something that you have to play mid-game. But they just haven't had the draw that they need to get the cards that they need. So you can see here the power of the battle cries. He just spent 2 mana, and so his Gnomish Inventor got to summon a couple things. All right, let's see if the Fish Flinger has anything interesting. Tasty Fin, that's not bad. It's going to get 2 Morlocks out of the deck and into your hand. When and if it dies, yeah. In the meantime, there's not a whole lot they can do about that evil totem, and they need to take care of that evil totem. You think, oh, it's just a couple of lackeys, but those lackeys will stack up, and it will be very difficult to get past them. Especially when you can spend 2 mana and all of those lackeys do things twice, like that. Oh. Look at that. A 1-drop summons a 2/3 and a 2/6. That injured Tol'Vir comes out at full health because of the way that it's summoned. And this is, you can see Smixen and Zaya there are not pleased with what is going on.
Oh.
Followed up with Forked Lightning. All right. Looks like they're going to pull the trigger here.
They really
coin out the tip the scales and pray for some awesomeness to happen. Okay, so they have tipped the scales. They clearly have board presence now.
Yes.
But unfortunately it's a board presence that the Longhorn team can probably pretty easily pick apart.
As long as
especially with that quest done. There you go. You know, 3 of half their minions are gone, and they can clean it up easily with the next couple attacks. And they are not short. That evil totem still cranking out lackeys that will continue doing things for days.
Yeah, no, as long as they have that totem, we're not going to be doing so hot right here.
But they haven't provided an opportunity to really, do anything.
Yes.
Now ACU's got lots of mana. They can dump a bunch of these things, and they just burned the Prismatic Lens, which would have been great to get another tip the scales out. So they're going to have to play these Murlocs the old-fashioned way. Now, it's a matter of determining order here. So they've got 8 mana. They can play 4, 5, 6. They could play 5 of these Murlocs. Start with Tidecaller is a good option. Maybe follow it with they're going to do Bluegill, Toxfin, and then a Murklite for the health buff is what I expect. Yep. So they're not quite as easy to pick off, but double battle cries. There's almost certainly a deal 2 damage lackey. So hero power lackey will kill off the 6/4, the 2/4. 1/3 or 3/3, whichever. They probably have a handful of those at their disposal.
I must ponder.
This is not the, the Murloc Paladin is not a late game deck, and you can see their frustration with the cards that the hand that they've been dealt. So there you go. The Cobalt Lackey is going to take out the 6-4. And at this point, the Longhorn team is probably just clearing up space to summon more bigger things. Ooh, and that mutate.
That thing looks ugly now.
So the mutate just takes a minion and turns it into something that costs 1 more mana. And so what it does is, so that's a great play there. So that was a 5 cost that summons a 1/1 that summons a 5/5. You mutate it, and it's now a 6. You go to a 6 cost, and so it's going to likely have much better stats than being a 1/1.
Okay.
Well, we're at the point you can see here ACU with 4 cards left in their deck. They aren't duplicates, so we can Zephyrus wish for something. We could grab a new hero power.
You could pray really well.
I'm not sure there's much left that will turn this around for the ACU team. There are plenty of options left to the Longhorn team.
Let's see.
So they can draw a card. They could do 3 damage to the enemy hero or summon 2 1/1s. Looks like they're looking for draw a card, which is an interesting choice when you have 4 cards remaining. That prismatic lens will grab the other tips of scales at the point, at whatever point they do that. They're finally going to get rid of this evil totem, but they're about to have, what is that, 16 damage coming to their face.
Yeah.
That said, ACU has a option. So I don't know what their last 2 cards are. Tip the scale, or they've got 3. They've got tip the scales, and I don't know what they are. I haven't been keeping track. Looks like it's tip scales, Murloc Tide Collar, and another True Silver Champion.
Ooh. And
Yep, ACU is going to call it a day and move on.
that was a... Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So Longhorn Gaming taking it up 2-1. That leaves the Highlander Hunter remaining for the Longhorn team. They just have to get 1 win with that to take the series from ACU.
Yes.
And but that leaves ACU with the Paladin again and the Priest to close it out. So they're going to try again and hopefully get a little bit better of a draw.
Yes, indeed.
So for those who are tuned in and kind of paying attention, you may notice the we had talked about having that extension, that Twitch extension up. It looks like it's working just great, except that it is not handling our 5-minute delay. And so we are going to go ahead and disable that extension. So sorry if that was exciting to you. You kind of got a future look at what was happening in ACU's hand. But we're going to turn that off so that it's not confusing as to what's happening on screen at this point in time. All right, so we got ACU with Mermy out turn 3. That's basically all we got out at the moment. And not a lot of options. So once again, tip the scales in your hand. You don't want that in your hand early on. You'd rather get a prismatic lens. Leave that in the deck so you can swap it out for a lower health thing. Chef Nomi isn't going to be useful until late game. So this is not the ideal hand that ACU wanted. There should be far more Murloc in a hand like this. I'm gonna see. So they're opting not to go ahead and attack in with the Murmy unless I missed that first attack, which is highly possible. All right.
Okay, it looks like they're choosing another Murloc. Tide Collar. And
So this is really what you wanted to do is you have a wide board of powerful Murlocs. They're gonna take the attacks in instead of clearing anything, so that they maintain a board and take advantage of the fact that we know that secret isn't popping from being hit by Murlocs to the face.
the only thing right now I'm thinking is a lot of the Murlocs, they look just like fish.
Oh, that's what they are. So I take it you've never played any World of Warcraft.
No.
Or so they were there in Warcraft 3 if you ever played any of that, maybe before some of y'all's time. But they're a fun race. Oh, it's not quite as bad in later expansions, but in general, if you heard, Murl, it was terrible sound because likely you had just acroed not just one Murloc, but a whole huge set of Murlocs.
Okay. They're swamp Ewoks.
Swamp Ewoks. Now, if any of you are familiar with Magic the Gathering, Murlocs are slivers. You put a sliver down, it buffs other slivers. Put a Murloc down. That's not quite a one-to-one. Murlocs aren't quite as annoying and dangerous as slivers. So the slivers, those can give you a bad day. You let them get out of control. Murlocs similarly, but maybe not quite as bad.
Just like a college student who hasn't had food in a day. Not a good experience. Should I choose a
So they have two options here. Or I guess they have three options. Tide Collar and Hero Power, just Hero Power, or just Tide Collar. And they're going to opt to Tide Collar and Hero Power. Why not both? So you might hold on to the Tide Collar potentially if you expected to have more stuff coming. Tide Collar is great when you're about to play a whole bunch of them. Subject 9 is pulling 5 secrets from their deck, so just pulling 4 secrets from their deck because they already have played one, and or one has already been triggered, I believe, and then one is on the board.
It looks like UT Austin has access to the Jurassic Park right there. Sad.
All right. You don't want to play Leroy now.
No.
This is just terrible. So what they need right now, they need a prismatic lens, and they need to pull out the scales with the prismatic lens and play it immediately. Like clear off the board, get themselves well established, get through their deck. Chef Nomi becomes only relevant once they have literally used everything in their deck.
Yeah, no, if you look down at the little camera right there, you can tell that they're definitely thinking really hard about what to do. I think they might end up just doing their the hero right there, hitting their little hero button.
So that's not a terrible option here. Run 1/1 into the 3/1, then hero power, attack face pass, maybe attack face first. Here goes Leroy. So they're gonna clean up the things left. Man, it's not the worst, I guess. So they're saying, screw it. we're gonna push as much pressure as possible. You have to clean up this board, which is not hard. You have to clean up this board to win, and you see them pleased that Leroy was able to hit that face. But they don't know anymore if Leroy can hit the face. Chances are less good. In fact, that's likely to be an explosive trap and maybe an ice trap.
Oh my, they're just gonna secret up.
Well, that's what you do with Subject 9. You pull out all your secrets, and there you go. There goes Leroy. And
He died a proud man with chicken.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
That's. So they're just gonna clear off this board, and they know that if you're Morlock Paladin without a board, not much you can do. All right, so question here is: do I true silver to the Subject 9 Hunter or the Subject 9, or do I true silver to the face? I kind of think. So they are not running a misdirection. So they can't. It could trigger explosive trap. And that's it. Okay.
Okay.
So if they can come up with 3 damage somewhere, somehow.
They're gonna have to do reinforce for sure.
Yep. I'm gonna put that in there. So it's not an ideal hand, but they're still, they're playing it really aggressive, which is what they need to do. They're putting the pressure on the hunter to come up with answers to them instead of them having answers to the hunter. And that is an ideal situation. Now, all the hunter, you can just basically assume every trap is what's there. All right, so let's see. Zephyrus is going to pull a 3-cost something. Yep, that seems like a good card for Zephyrus to pull out.
Very.
All right, we're going to tip the scales. Pressure plate's going to kill off, of course, one of the war leader.
Of course.
Now,
Let's see.
if there's an explosive trap,
We're gonna find out.
I mean, explosive trap basically clears this board.
I wonder.
So I don't know.
I have to
Maybe
agree
you
with
just-
Paladin right there. I wonder.
Let me think.
All right, so
Move quickly.
snake trap
It's a trap.
and any others?
Yep.
Freezing trap. Okay.
One more. Okay.
What are you gonna do? You got a rope. Oh, okay. They ran out of time.
Oh.
So they're gonna just keep that weapon. Maybe use it next time.
Interesting.
So Longhorn Gaming, again, their objective here is to find an answer. Any answer.
I want to say we did really good on questioning them right there because it's like we asked a really tough calculus question that no one could answer, so they had to cheat by going to Google. And now it's like, okay, let's.
You talking about with Zephyrus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zephyrus is Google.
I guess. All right. So they're establishing their own board here. And now the question is ACU going to respond? how is ACU going to respond? So there are 11 cards left in the deck. Nomi's not useful. Finley's not useful. They need some kind of draw. They don't have it. Do they board clear? They can. I think they're running under an assumption right now that one of those traps is explosive trap, which kills everything on the board. So the only point that they have. So at this point they need to clear the board, or focus on that at least. They may be wondering what they want to do with their next true silver champion attack, whether they want to send that to face, bring him to 11, or do they want to attack things into minions and then do that to trigger the explosive trap? Because they could do that and then play their Murloc warrior.
Just go straight.
All right, so they're going face there. There's the explosive trap like they expected. Warrior's going to come. Murloc warrior's going to come down. Do they get the attack off? Nope. No, it gets sniped. Okay.
You'll find me wherever the action is.
Ooh. All right. Well, that's game.
Yep.
Unless ACU has a way to heal. Oh, no, they could. They can heal. If they're able to find a way to clear this board, so they can summon 7 Murlocs. None of them have charge. So, that's game.
Yep.
Yep, because they've already used their chargers. So they had their chargers. No, even if they had chargers, there's no way out of this. They didn't have taunts.
Yep.
All right, so ACU not coming in on their first match. They got going down 1-3. That said, the last 2 seasons, this is just how ACU does it, right? Fall 2018, so last year,
Yes.
ACU lost their first 2 matches. It was rough, and then they won 5 matches in a row, going all the way to playoffs. Last season, spring 2019, ACU lost their first 2 games, then won 4 games in a row, and then lost the 7th match. So ACU is by no means out of anything, but they're going to.
First game.
Yep.
So it's like no big deal for that.
Absolutely. So we're going to go to a quick break. Thanks for tuning in tonight. We're going to go to a quick break, and then we're going to come back with just an interview of one of our players. And so stick around for that. All right, I am here with Smixon. the son of Smick.
Yes.
All right. To talk a little bit about the games. All right. So let's start at the beginning.
All right.
Round 1 was
Control
an hour ago.
Priest.
Control Priest.
Yes.
So Control.
Or sorry, not Control
Yeah,
Priest.
yeah.
Combo Priest.
Combo Priest.
Too many C words. You get them all
So,
confused.
Combo Priest
But Combo
against their. I have to look it up.
Let's see, what
again.
was it? The Warlock.
Their Warlock.
That's right.
Their Warlock. So, super aggressive Warlock deck
Yes.
against the Combo Priest, and he just didn't get the combo. You were
Yep,
looking
not
for.
quite. Had a couple inner fires, had a couple clears, but not anything to deal with the big things. That was the thing that surprised us going into the game. Is we knew it was an aggressive Warlock, and we knew they had a lot of cheap stuff. They were going to try to Grim Rally a large board, and so we thought, okay, if we can keep our board there, if we can clear their little stuff, then we should be able to pull off a combo by the time the end of the game comes. And we just had no way to deal with the Sea Giants that came out. And we filled our side of the board thinking, okay, we can pressure them with a bit of damage. Think if we can get a combo card, maybe we can finish it out. And just by filling up our board, we made their Sea Giant cheaper. And they played it for 4 mana, and then we couldn't come back from that tempo.
So I remember there's one point where like you had one out, and it was drop the drop
High
the
Priest.
acolyte.
Right, yeah, High Priest Acolyte.
All right, so the cultists. No, drop the cultist.
Oh, the cultist.
And then deal damage, draw a card, and hope that it's Divine Spirit.
Right.
And it wasn't.
Yep.
Your next draw was Divine Spirit.
Yes, it was.
And it was like,
I remember that.
too little, too late.
There it is. Yep.
So, okay. So, off that loss, you moved over to your Control Warrior.
Yes.
Which was a solid play.
Yes.
Against their that was against their Hunter.
Right.
First.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that going into that one, we were looking at the matches, and the guy who uses the Control Warrior, Zaya, I think is his tag. He was looking at the one, and he said, before the matches, he said, I don't like this matchup versus Warlock, but I really like it versus Shaman and Hunter. So when we lost against Warlock, we knew that we weren't going to use that deck. We said, let's get the win.
Yep.
And
you
we
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You took it to late game and you just, they ran out of steam.
Yep.
And that's what you needed to do.
Yep. It was actually right after I said the words, they're running out of steam. They can't use this. And right after that, they conceded. And I was like, oh, okay, I was right.
Yep. Yeah, but you got it exactly where, and that's exactly how the Control Warrior ought to go.
Right.
So
play that game nice and slow. Wait till they run out of steam.
Yep.
They can't do anything.
And then you couldn't draw Murlocs to save your life. Okay, so your first game, so it was Murloc Paladin against their Shaman.
Right.
I'm curious what was your thought process on keeping Tip the Scales in your opening hand?
I don't think we kept Tip the Scales in the opening hand.
So I'm gonna go back and review the feed.
All right.
Or did you mulligan and grab it?
I think we
maybe
mulliganed and
maybe
grabbed
I missed it. Maybe I missed a scene there.
Okay. The way I remember it happening was we had a handful of like 3 to 2 cost cards, and we knew that was not a very good opener, and we knew we needed Prismatic Lens to try to do something against the Shaman deck that could clear us out. And so we were fishing for the Prismatic Lens.
And you got the opposite
of what
you wanted.
Right. We got Tip the Scales, and we got
So I'll go back
garbage.
and double check. I guess now that I think about it, I very well may have missed that. I thought that you had opted to keep the Tip the Scales, and was like,
that would have been a very questionable play.
yes.
I agree.
Okay, great. Well, and you ended up with Tip the Scales, and you your opening hand, both of those,
Right, yes.
or pretty early on in the second game too.
Yeah.
Oh, and Chef Nomi, right?
Yeah, not a card you want to see early.
Yeah, the card, literally the last card you want to play. Like it's there to be the last card.
Exactly. If your deck is empty, draw it at the beginning of the game. Just,
Yeah. So the other team played really well, but
They did.
you just,
They did.
but some of it, that's how Hearthstone goes.
Yep. Win some, lose some. Sure.
There's a bit of, if you're playing a Murloc deck, at some point you have to draw Murlocs.
True.
And and lots of them, copious amounts of Murlocs. Right.
You can't have like 2 or 3 Murlocs and then Chef Nami and Tip the Scales and Zephyrus whenever we don't have no duplicates yet, and all of that just not stuff you want to see.
Your hand you had Chef Nami, you had Sir Finley, which is duplicates. I don't think you ended up with Zephyrus in there.
Maybe not till later.
But there were several things. It was like those will be great at the end of the game if they're alive.
Right. we almost had to, because Murloc Paladin is slightly aggressive, but it can kind of have a control back foot by having those late game cards.
Sure.
And the fact that we kind of had to play both games more towards that late game, especially since we're up against Shaman and Hunter, it was not favorable.
Well, now,
that
and
case.
ideally, yeah, it's aggressive, but ideally, your late game is still their mid game,
Right.
Where you have burned through your deck,
Right.
and you're like at 6 mana, right?
Right, yeah,
And, that's ideal, but obviously there was nothing
quite.
ideal about your hand tonight.
Correct.
All right, well, great plays.
Thank you.
Glad I'm super excited that Hearthstone's back, and
too.
It's one of my favorites to watch and to talk about. So for those of you tuning in, tune in next week. We will be back with more Hearthstone,
yeah.
and ideally, potentially, more Caleb.
Yes. Hopefully we'll have 3 members this time.
Yep.
We'll blame the loss entirely on him. It's all
Absolutely.
his fault.
So
See the
if you
creator.
see the creator around, tell him that it's his fault.
Yep.
And that he should be better. In the meantime, we got other stuff happening this week. Thursday, we're going to be back with Smash Weeklies, and it's always great. It's always fun. And then I know this is what everybody's been waiting for. This Sunday, Overwatch is back. We're going to be watching some Overwatch as ACU takes on somebody. We don't know yet who, but it's gonna be good fun.
ACU versus Mystery.
Yeah, and we actually, I believe, have 2 Overwatch teams this year. So we'll be following on the stream. We will likely be following the A team, whatever that is. But we'll probably get some of the other team in there from time to time.
All
but it's going to be good fun. And then we're still not sure. For those of you who were watching Rocket League with us yesterday, you got to see how terrible they were at running tournament. We had a front row seat to that debacle, and it's the first time running it on Face It, and so.
Sure.
It's going to be there are going to be some issues, and so they've postponed that, and I haven't heard anything yet on terms of when that will be. But when it does happen, we will do our best to get that to you. If you're interested in being part of esports, we're interested in you being a part of esports. So we've got several teams already put together. If you're a League of Legends player, then sign up, get on our Discord, sign up for tryouts. Tryouts are tomorrow evening, and they're gonna run y'all through some stuff and put together some teams. It's gonna be great. That group will be competing primarily next spring, but a lot of practice this semester. Rainbow Six has already started some practicing. I saw them on this past Friday night, I believe it was, and so we got a lot going on here. It's a lot of fun. We are the largest club sport on campus. So
Nice.
First year as an official club sport, and ACU Club Esports is the largest club sport on the ACU campus by a significant margin.
All right.
So
growing faster than exponential growth.
Yeah, it's great. All right, so you can stop watching in just a moment, I guess. But we will see you back here on Thursday for our weekly Smash tournament. But until then, go Wildcats!
Go Wildcats!